Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Skokie Village Board for Tuesday, February the 20th, 2018. This evening we have the pleasure of being led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Brownie Troop 242163 from Jane Stenson School. Ladies?
Will the audience please rise? Color guard, post the colors. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color guard, retreat.
You have just witnessed history. This is the first time we've had the Brownies do the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, and what a wonderful job it was. Next item on the agenda is calling the meeting to order. And the clerk will please call the roll for this evening.
Trustee Roberts.
Here.
Trustee Sutka.
Here.
Trustee Ulrich.
Here.
Trustee Bromberg.
Here.
Trustee Klein.
Here.
Trustee Gray Keeler.
Here.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Here. We have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda for this evening. Motion is in order. Trustee Klein, seconded by Trustee Gray Keeler. Is there anything on the consent agenda anybody would like to have removed? If not, the clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Roberts.
Aye.
Trustee Sutka.
Aye.
Trustee Ulrich.
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg.
Aye.
Trustee Klein.
Aye.
Trustee Gray Keeler.
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye, the motion passes. This evening we have the honor to do a proclamation for one of Skokie, for an anniversary for one of Skokie's more interesting and innovative businesses. In a moment, I'll introduce the founder and the moving force behind MedX, Lauren Rubinson Morris. Lauren is, as you will all get to know undoubtedly, is a true force of nature. MedX is one of those companies that you drive by. Heaven knows how many times I've driven by MedX. They're on Howard Street. And you see their sign and you ask yourself, what do they do? Nice sign. And once in a while, you'll see one of their vehicles, and you wonder, what is it exactly they do? And that is what I always wondered about MedX. And then one day, a senior member of the MedX executive staff came over to talk to John and I and Jason about helping them solve a problem they were having. And we just got to talking. I thought, I'm going to ask him, what do you do? And then an hour later, no, it was actually about maybe 5 minutes later, but I was very impressed. And sure enough, I had said, love to come over sometime And he said, okay, I'll be back in touch. And sure enough, couldn't have been more than a couple days later, he invited us over and couldn't have been more hospitable. We all had lunch together, and we went on a tour and opened a whole new world that I certainly had not known was here in the village of Skokie. We have so many great businesses, innovative, and do work for the village that is unparalleled, I think, probably anywhere else. And yes, maybe I'm exaggerating just a tad, but I don't think that much. But I will read the proclamation because I think it will tell you an awful lot about the company. Whereas MedX, founded 20 years ago, has built its reputation on a commitment to quality patient care and exceptional customer service. And whereas Medical Express Ambulance Service, otherwise known as MedX, is located at 5650 West Howard Street in Skokie, Illinois. And whereas under the founding president and chief executive officer, Lauren Rubinson Morris, MedX is a certified woman business enterprise. And whereas MedX is a leader in the industry and has steadily grown over these past 20 years to now include integrated air and ground ambulance services to complement their already established ambulance transportation services that includes transit for basic life support, advanced life support, critical care with RN, bariatric services. I'm interested in finding out what bariatric services is, specialized equipment, Medicar, and courtesy van transports. And whereas MedX was instrumental in the intricate and delicate planning process of transporting all of the patients from Children's Memorial Hospital to the new Ann and Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital of Chicago. 127 pediatric patients were successfully and safely transported by MedX to the new hospital on June 9th, 2012. And that doesn't really tell the whole story. It took months to make the preparations to do this kind of transport. You can just imagine. Whereas MedX leads their industry in the adoption of life-saving technology, including Google Glass to improve communication between critical care parametrics and hospital emergency rooms, aviation technology and equipment specifically designed to partner with the University of Chicago Medicine's UCAN Air Ambulance Service, and the introduction of a concept ambulance at the 2018 Chicago Auto Show, featuring a Lockheed Martin drone, which one day could be used for ultra-fast delivery of life-saving equipment and supplies to an emergency. And whereas MedX has provided medical standby services for a variety of special events, including sports venues, film productions, such as the movie Contagion, which was partially filmed at the Illinois Science and Technology Park here in Skokie, as well as at festivals and concerts. MedX also has a prominent spot in the music video, the phrase, "You found me." Now, therefore, I, George Van Dusen, Mayor of the Village of Skokie, do hereby proclaim and celebrate the month of February 2018 for MedX's 20th anniversary in the Village of Skokie, and do hereby congratulate MedX for their success and commitment to being a premier ambulance transportation provider. On behalf of the Village of Skokie and our elected officials, we wish MEDX much continued success. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce the founder and the CEO, Lauren Rubinson Morris. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor Van Dusen and the board for recognizing the month of February 2018 as a celebration in honor of MEDX's 20th anniversary. MEDX started from humble beginnings. We have grown steadily over the past 20 years, and we now employ over 350 healthcare professionals and operate a fleet of over 80 vehicles. Skokie has been a wonderful place to grow our business. I can't think of a better community in which to run a business, and I look forward to being in Skokie for many years to come. We are very proud to be part of the Skokie business community. So on behalf of the MEDX management team, which many of whom are here with me tonight, and the entire company, we thank you for this wonderful honor. And if I may just have the management team please just stand up, because you are so much a part. Thank you for the honor. We really appreciate being part of Skokie.
Well, we're honored to have you and to tell everybody that you are, in fact, in the village of Skokie. And as I said in my introduction, when I drove by, I had no idea whatsoever that you had 350 employees. It's a phenomenal success story, and obviously we wish you and your staff nothing but the very best, and look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Oh, of course.
Lauren, I've never had the privilege of meeting you before, but one of my kids was an employee of yours many years ago. He had wonderful experience working with you, and it had a really big effect on his life.
And what's his name?
Am I allowed to say? He'll kill me. Daniel Keeler.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What a good boy.
Thank you.
Good boy. You did a good job raising him. You should be very proud. Send him my love.
I think this is the first time I've seen Trustee Gray Keeler's face turn red. And it's on tape. Apropos, the next item on the agenda is the swearing in of a new firefighter. Helene Levin of the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners would do the honors. I would like to take a moment to introduce Chief Brandt. Chief is with us. And also, I would also like to introduce Chief Scarpelli, our Chief of Police. Helene?
Thank you. Good evening to Mayor Van Dusen, trustees, Police Chief Scarpelli, Fire Chief Brandt, and all of us who are here on this very special evening. I want to especially acknowledge the family and friends of tonight's inductee. You have the right to be proud. Tonight we are here for a swearing-in ceremony of our newest Village of Skokie firefighter. As we must never forget that the men and women who serve as first responders deserve our respect and our admiration. Our firefighters are dedicated to the fire department's mission. As dedicated professionals committed to safely serving our community by protecting life, property, and the environment through prevention, education, and emergency services. We are truly proud of both our Village of Skokie firefighters and our police officers. They deserve our support and our gratitude as they do their jobs. It is now my great honor to have the opportunity to begin the swearing-in ceremony of Matthew Bocassini. Matt, you'll join me. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I,
I,
and your name,
Matthew Bocassini,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
State of Illinois,
State of Illinois,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the Village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
of the Fire Department,
of the Fire Department,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commission,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a firefighter to
Of-
the best of my ability.
of a firefighter to the best of my ability.
Congratulations,
Thank you
Matt.
very much.
Give you the certificate of appointment, and that basically, and this is yours, and it is signed by the chair of our commission. And congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and Matthew, would you introduce your family and friends to us? We're not going to let you off that easy.
This is my father, Serge, my mother, Karen, my brother, Danny, my girlfriend, Donatalia, my sister-in-law, Audrey, and my nephew, James, or William, sorry.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
This is the finest fire department in the country. Just a little bragging rights. Not only is it one of the very few that is actually certified and accredited, but it also has an ISO rating of #1, which is virtually impossible to get. It's a tribute, yes, to having good equipment, but the most important thing, like with any great organization, it's the people. And we have the first rate. Matthew, you're going to be very proud to be a member of this department. It's a challenging kind of work. As Helene mentioned, the first responders are the ones who take on the most difficult tasks. We've been reminded of that, unfortunately, just this last week with the horror that happened in Florida. But who was it who had to respond to something like that? It's our first responders. We try to provide training for our responders. We try to give them the best kind of equipment possible. But a lot of it really comes down to character and having the right kind of people with the dedication. And the community here has reacted. Matthew, you might find it hard to believe, but every 3 years we do a survey. We do it outside, we don't do it ourselves, and it's done by a nationally recognized company that specializes in surveying across the country. And we ask our residents to rate us. Tell us what we're doing well, what could we do better, and what are we doing that is very good. The fire department, every single time, comes in at the 90th percentile, and with good reason. So we're very proud to welcome you to this department, and we look forward to having you back for social occasions, promotions, and all kinds of other activities. So welcome, and it's great to have you. Why don't we take a break, and congratulate our new firefighter and also congratulate Lauren and MedX as well, and wish them the best. So we'll take a 5-minute break. Chief Scarpelli, would you mind just closing the door? Thank you.
Stay inside them.
The meeting of the village board will resume with a report of our village manager, John Lockerbie.
Thank you, Mayor Van Duzen and Village Board. Item A is regarding the adoption of ratified IAFF, the firefighters contract. The board has previously reviewed in executive session the principal issues of a labor contract with the Skokie firefighters local 3033 IAFF. Assistant Village Manager Jason Wisha has outlined the major provisions of this contract in the memorandum that's included in the agenda packet. The firefighters have approved this contract. I respectfully request mayor and board approval of this contract.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Trustee Sucker, seconded by Trustee Ulrich. Are there any comments or questions? Being none, call the roll, please.
Trustee Roberts.
Aye.
Trustee Sutka.
Aye.
Trustee Ulrich.
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg.
Aye.
Trustee Klein.
Aye.
Trustee Gray Keeler.
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye. Motion passes. I'm going to just take one quick moment. I want to particularly thank the staff on both the firefighters as well as the village staff that worked on negotiating this contract. These are not always the easiest contracts to negotiate, but this one went very well, and I think everybody involved really deserves kudos. This evening, we're taking it up very quickly, but that does not in any way mean that this did not take a lot of time, a lot of thoughtfulness, and compromise on everybody's part, and it's a very good deal, I think, all the way around. And everybody just saw the swearing in of a new firefighter and all of the men and women who were here. I would just ask everybody to remember every day the kind of work they do for us. So, John, Jason, thank you for everything.
Thank you. Item B, C, and D were approved under tonight's consent agenda, and that completes my report this evening.
Thank you. Next item is report of our Corporation Council. Michael Lorch.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. Good evening, everyone. I'm joined tonight by members of the Corporation Council staff. Items A, B, C, and D were ordinances on the consent agenda at the beginning of the evening and were adopted. Item E is a resolution, long anticipated, on the agenda for first reading tonight and for board action. This resolution is a companion to item A on my agenda, which was adopted as part of the consent agenda. That second reading of the ordinance approved the site plan for the 8000 North LLC project. As part of the 8000 North project to be constructed at 5114 to 5120 Oakton Street, Skokie, Illinois, the Village of Skokie has spent countless hours working with and negotiating with the principals from the 8000 North LLC group. And we have arrived at a development agreement which sets out the financial obligations to bring to fruition this great project for our village. The experience in working with the developers has been a very positive and constructive process. As we all know, the project consists of approximately 42,000 square feet of land, which has been vacant and without useful purpose for many, many years. The 8000 North developers seek to develop a project on the parcel which is in the village's redevelopment zone. The developer proposes to construct a 12-story mixed-use commercial and residential building and a garage building. Together, it would have 153 units consisting of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments and approximately 15,000 square feet of ground floor commercial space. And in addition, the project will have indoor parking that will include 192 private parking places and 73 public parking places. The developer and our economic development staff anticipate that the project will create commercial and residential growth, which will also further the redevelopment of adjacent areas and will increase the real property tax base of the taxing district in our community. It will generate new sales tax from the commercial uses of the project. Skokie recognizes that the redevelopment and operation of the project will prevent a condition of potential blight in the prime residential and commercial location that is within our redevelopment zone. In this regard, Skokie obtained a market feasibility and demand study which demonstrated a strong need for new quality housing in the redevelopment zone and which concluded that additional rental property would increase economic activity from those occupants for the restaurants and other retail and commercial businesses in the area. The village has received documentation which demonstrates that given the costs associated with the site preparation and the construction of such a project, that the project would not be feasible without financial assistance from Skokie. Pursuant to this development agreement, the board would resolve to approve that the developer would purchase the property for the residential and commercial building in the amount of $1,500,000. Further, that Skokie will build the garage on the remaining portion of the subject property, which the developer will lease back from Skokie, and ultimately in 10 or 12 years purchase from Skokie. The developer under this agreement will also follow a formula by which Skokie will share in any profit if the project is ultimately sold. Finally, the developer has validated a basis for $5,938,602 in TIF assistance in order to fulfill the construction of the $64 million building. The construction costs would be supported by this TIF on a pay-as-you-go TIF note, and the developer would receive the funds as generated as revenue from the TIF district, not to exceed but not guaranteed at $5,938,602. To aid and create a viable economic environment for the redevelopment and commercial and residential growth in our redevelopment zone, the village manager and corporation council have recommended to the mayor and the board that the development agreement with 8000 North LLC regarding the property located at 5114 to 5120 Oakton Street be approved substantially in the form presented, subject to minor changes approved by the village manager as we complete and execute the agreement. Under our home rule authority, then, we further request that the Tax Increment Allocation Redevelopment Act support TIF financing for this project in the stated amount. All of this consistent with the redevelopment plan of October 27th, 2005, and as amended in November 15, 2015. Mayor, we would request board action on this resolution tonight.
Thank you. A motion to approve the resolution approving and authorizing the development agreement with 8000 North LLC would be in order as provided in the agenda this evening. Trustee Ulrich, seconded by Trustee Sutker. Comments or questions? Trustee Roberts.
I just want to kind of hash this out a little bit further. It's a pretty complex agreement, and I just wanted to know a little bit more about Skokie's portion of how we're going to pay for the bonds and for the TIF funds. So I understand the basic premise behind a TIF is that the increment of the property tax, right now it's a piece of vacant land, and as the value of that property increases, so will the property taxes, so that there will be an increment, right? And that the increment on that property at 8,000 North or the Oakton address will then be used to pay on a yearly basis the bonds and the TIF assistance. Is that, am I right in that's the basic way we're going to be paying for this on the Skokie's portion of the?
So the revenue bond, which is going to be supporting the construction of the garage, will be largely paid for from the lease payments coming from the garage. So what we need to focus on is to separate the construction of the garage from the construction of the building, because they have different financial vehicles. So in order to build the garage, which has a significant amount of public parking, which we all knew was necessary and needed downtown, the idea of following with a revenue bond to support that construction would work, assuming that, and as allowed for and provided for in the agreement, the parking spaces are leased by the developer, by the by the residential building, at a set amount per month, regardless of how many of those spaces are used or not used, and those financial dollars would support most of the monthly cost of carrying the revenue bond. The TIF stands alone and flows from identified, and we used outside experts to work with our economic development staff to prove out that there was certain revenue that we could anticipate flowing from the TIF as a regular TIF structure, and that there were specific, what we refer to as TIF-eligible costs. That not anything and everything on a construction project is TIF-eligible. Those costs have been identified, and in fact, they fell somewhat under the potential dollars that could have been available. So the developer really worked hard to identify the appropriate costs that could be paid out of the TIF, and in that context left some money on the table which we can use for other things. That might include helping to pay down additional parts of the project. Is that
Yeah,
cover?
and then there, also in the development agreement, there's a $59,000 a month construction management fee that the village will pay for the supervision of the construction of the parking deck. Is that also money that's, where is the source of the funds for that money for the village? Is that from TIF funds, or?
I may defer that to John in terms of that, but I would point out that those dollars to manage that part of the construction takes a tremendous burden off village staff in terms of the day-to-day operation. Such management of that size of a garage with that complexity of construction, including the utilities that are underneath it, the water retention that's underneath it, it requires tremendous amount of time and sophistication. But even there, the management fee is limited to a certain number of months. So if they can't achieve it in that 20-month period, they still will complete the project, but there will be no further dollars. And if hopefully they finish it in less time, then of course we save those dollars.
So the village allocates money from the Economic Development Fund for these types of initiatives, and so this will be funded through the Economic Development Fund, which is largely funded through the real estate transfer stamps.
And just one final question, then. I know that there's it's contingent, or there's contingencies in here about remediating the property and getting a no further remediation letter. At this point, do we anticipate that's going to be difficult? I know on tonight's agenda, we approved the company to oversee that and get that done. Is that, I know the prior uses of the property, is that, you anticipate that's going to be a difficult process, or how's that going at this point?
The first issue with it is not whether it's difficult or not, it's timeliness. The IEPA, the Illinois EPA has its own speed about things, and our great concern there is that, of course, we want to get the shovel in the ground and get going. So the developer is using a lot of effort, as well as our own staff in terms of our relationships, to try to move that along. In terms of being able to obtain it, we're I think more than confident that what has been prescribed both by True North, who is our specialist in the area, who's worked with us on many projects, as well as the staff that the developer has, that what's been planned in terms of the excavation, the replacement of soil, and the sealing of the site will fit with IEPA specs. Does that cover it?
Yep.
Any other comments or questions? If not, I'm sorry. Trustee
Quick question, I'm sorry if you already answered this, but what is the percentage of the private versus public parking in the parking lot?
So it's a number of spaces. There's 73 spaces that are public. Oh, you have it, John, right
I
there?
do.
Oh,
It's
thanks.
28% public and 72% private, for a total of 265 parking spaces.
That are public or private?
So the whole parking garage is 265.
Got it.
And then the public spaces is 28% for 73 spaces. And then the private is 192 spaces, which is 72%.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Roberts,
Aye.
Trustee Sutker,
Aye.
Trustee Ulrich,
Aye.
Trustee Bromberg,
Aye.
Trustee Klein,
Aye.
Trustee Gray Keeler,
Aye.
Mayor Van Dusen.
Aye. Proudly, the motion passes.
Mayor, that would conclude my report.
Thank you. The concluding item this evening is citizen comments. Is there anybody who wishes to address the board? Yes, sir. You would come up to the microphone and give us your name and address, please.
My name Adnan Fleifel. I live on 5220 Church Street by Jane Stenson Middle School. Last week we had a lot of snow. On Friday the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th, we got about like 19 to 20 inches. I used to live on 4657 Main Street in Skokie. If there is a snow alert, we used to hear the siren, and the police department, police squad car comes with a siren around. People, they used to move their cars. Now on Monday, after the heavy storm, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on Sunday, Jane Stenson, they cleared the snow on Lathrop Street. On Monday, the street was clear. And a policeman came, he gave 25 tickets, and there were no snow on the street. My question to you, if you have a plowing truck, are they coordinated with the police department where to go and give tickets?
John?
Yes, sir. So after there's 2 inches of snow, I convene the police chief, the fire chief, the public works director, the snow command staff, the marketing director, the assistant village manager, and myself, and an emergency operations center. And so we meet usually around 8 a.m. and we coordinate for the day the snow removal effort. We have about 150 miles of street in town. And so our alternate site parking program is crucial to be able to plow to the curb so that ambulances and fire trucks and squad cars can get down the streets. And so we have in effect alternate side parking from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. And when Public Works is finished plowing, then they communicate with the police department, and then the enforcement may relax at that point. But we very adamantly encourage all drivers to park in compliance with the alternate side parking from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. because we have about 45,000 vehicles in town, and we can't allow us as individual drivers to decide when the street is clear. It's important to follow it from 8 to 6.
Okay, my question to you here.
Yes.
There is no snow on the street. It was Monday. The policeman came, gave 25 tickets. One day prior to that, Jane Stenson, the crew, cleared the whole snow on Lathrop Street. I didn't see any plowing truck. Beside that, we can hear a siren where we live.
Okay, so we do have multiple sirens in town, and so they all sounded on Sunday and Monday. The alternate side parking is in effect 2 days, and so on Sunday it was the first day, and on Monday it was the second day of the alternate side.
But my question to you here, is there coordination between the public work and the police department where to give ticket, even if
Yes.
there's no snow?
Yes. Bear in mind, I'm sorry, I
No,
don't
please.
mean to, but every time there's a snowfall, we get this. You have to bear in mind that you also have to realize that we have to go by what is expected. If I remember correctly, and maybe my memory isn't right, but my memory was that there was a prediction for an additional snowfall.
It was
And-
on Sunday.
I understand there was a snowfall, and believe me, I well remember Sunday.
Okay.
There was also a prediction that we were going to get some additional snowfall on Monday. And you cannot say to people, well, if you think your street is done, do what you want, when we might get additional snow and have to send the trucks back out. As John said, we not only have the trucks on the streets, we have the alleys to do, and we also try, when we can, lastly, to do sidewalks in this village. So and I don't want this just to be on John, it's also on those of us who are elected. We enforce the opposite side parking very strictly throughout the entirety of the village. And the reason is, we don't know if there's going to be additional snow. We only know what the subscription service tells us.
But my question to you, this street got cleared by Jane Stenson, not the plowing public work. The police came, gave 25 ticket for no snow. Where is supposed to be this policeman? With the plowing truck giving ticket in order to facilitate their work? Or to an area where there is no snow?
Well, I just
That's kind of frustrated me.
Well, we're also frustrated because we expect compliance.
I understand that. Now, where the policeman should put the ticket? On the windshield or by the two-door slot? When he issue any ticket?
The police officer has some discretion. If the car is covered in snow, it may go under the windshield wiper, or it may go in the doors. And so we have approximately 120 police officers, and they utilize their best judgment in those situations.
I don't think you answer any question, guys.
Well,
I have respect for you.
Okay.
You know, the way they did that job, they should be in another area giving tickets with snow plowing. Street got clear, rampage of tickets, the whole street, Lathrop, from 8800 North all the way to 92.
If you would like, leave your name and your phone number, and I will have my assistant call you and set up a meeting, and you can come in and we'll talk about it.
I came to the village, I went to the police department.
I'm just telling you.
They say just contest the ticket.
Okay.
I paid it.
Well,
But I was frustrated the way the policeman gave ticket for a clear street.
okay.
I'm going
There-
back to
There's
the
not
same
much
one.
more that I can tell
That's
you.
kind of frustrated me, though, as a
Okay.
taxpayer living here, see a policeman giving tickets, and no plowing truck came the whole day.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the board? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you.